All right, welcome back, everybody, to another KC Sports Report live stream. I know it's been a while since I've talked to you guys, and specifically about anything Chiefs or Royals related. On the Royals half, we haven't really missed much. I'd like to join to the show Lucas Murphy. He hosts the Beat of KC. Go sub him up if you haven't already. Lucas, what's your thoughts on this Royals team right now?
Man, I think our trend from the last time we talked, inconsistency is just it speaks volumes to what we're looking at. I mean, they do very well against the Boston Red Sox. They basically could have taken two of three from the Yankees. One slipped away, unfortunately. But then you
Mm-hmm.
go into a very inconsistent, very not playing very good Texas Rangers, and you get swept. I think there's a lot of question marks around what is going on just with the organization in itself. I mean, we're winning 5-2 right now. We appear to be hitting the ball. Duffy's on the mound, but you have Jorge Soler being plugged into the two hole. Kelvin Gutierrez is sent down. Obviously, he was struggling there as of late.
Mm-hmm.
And they bring up Emmanuel Rivera, which comes up and brings a spark. But I think inconsistency is the best way to describe it. Starting pitching at one point would look like to be okay, and now it's just struggling outside of Duffy. Hitting, same thing. You have your moments like tonight. We have three home runs, I believe. But then it's like we can't buy a hit. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just very, very frustrating. And I can understand the frustration from so many fans just because it seems like we keep plugging in players and keep putting players out there very similar, like Hunter Dozier, Jorge Soler. Greg Holland has had his moments of success, but has struggled mightily as of late. It seems like Wade Davis hasn't pitched in a while. Why he's still on the roster? A lot of people question that when you have guys down in the minors who are shoving from a bullpen aspect. So there's just so many questions, man, and again, inconsistency.
And at the time of this live stream, the Royals are 33 and 43. You're 10 games below 500. I only expect that to get worse. I'm not going to lie. I think that, you know, coming towards the All-Star break, it was going to be interesting to see where this team was at, whether they were somewhere around the 500 mark or they were a little bit below or a little bit above. This team is a good week stretch away from just they should just blow the whole thing up. If they go another a week of losing 6 of 7 games, blow the thing up. It's not worth it at this point. And I said this on Twitter, which you can follow that. That's KC Sports Report on Twitter. If this Royals team is trying to win with the situation that's been going on, they've been trying to win supposedly for the past 2 or 3 years, but this team actually has talent. So the fact that they're trying to win and they're not winning any games, they're not even putting up offensive numbers. The fact that they are losing so abysmally, that almost leads me to believe that this team is just needs a complete rehaul because it just seems like whatever this team does to try to get better, they're not getting better. And we've pointed out Cal Eldred, we've pointed out Terry Bradshaw. I think that they need to both be gone by the end of the year. Matheny did not bring them in when he took over as the head coach. And if it means anything, the guys in single A, double A, and triple A, the players are producing better because the coaches at the minor league level are producing and helping their players more than major league coaching. That's a
Yeah,
big problem. Like, that's a major problem. I mean, I think I saw it. Maybe you retweeted it on Twitter. It was Jackson Coar throwing or maybe it was Coar or Lynch was throwing like high 90s up in the zone, just wiping through hitters. I mean, that's not a problem with him so much as it's a problem with the coaching. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
yeah, man, I could not agree more. I think that um, you're starting to see some uncomfortability when it comes to Cal Eldridge. We don't see a whole lot of Terry Bradshaw because, in my thoughts, most of the coaching from a hitting standpoint is not conducted during a game because you want that player to go out there and perform. But I would say if we're going to do anything, Eldridge is obviously, it's definitely starting to become an uncomfortable situation. He goes out, doesn't look like he's prepared when he goes to talk to, goes to the mound for a mound visit. I can't remember which situation it was. He goes out there and has a mound visit, and immediately the very next pitch is just launched over the fence. And obviously, that's not him coaching, that's a pitch, but it's still the fact that there's just no spark on anything. I think he definitely needs to go. And I am honestly starting to wonder if there was something that said, hey, Matheny, you're going to take over as the head coach. We want to at least give these guys a chance to earn a spot. And if they do, then we'll keep them. If not, they're gone. And I think we're starting to see that. I think you definitely need to start with the coaching staff. The minor leagues, you got guys down there from a coaching perspective who clearly are getting to the players. But I also think that too, you got to think some of those guys are just absolutely hungry to get to that next level too. And that's also something that's easy to approach. But also those guys are wanting to learn and they want to get to that next level. So I could not agree more though, from an aspect of, I do think you need to start with the coaching staff. The question mark is, where do you go? Is it something that you look internally to promote? Because I do know once September comes, obviously the minor league season is over with, and you do see some of those minor league coaches come up naturally with that to help coach out and assist. Maybe that could be a tryout at some point and see what you got down there and if they are going to be next level. But I do think that there probably is behind the scenes. They're probably looking for a new pitching coach. It's just it's a rough time to be doing that anyways this far in the season, just because they've been working with Cal for a while. They've been working with Terry for a while. So even though they might just not be connecting anymore, it's just still hard to go replace those guys and bring in something new. So yeah, I definitely agree that probably by next year you'll see new position coaches in that place. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. It really is, and I can't hit on that enough because I feel like the Royals were right there. And I do have to agree. You did say, at some point you almost have to just throw it in. I want to be optimistic. I'm a diehard Royals fan. I love covering it just as much as you do, and there's so many other people out there. But at some point, you do have to start becoming a realist, and you have to start understanding you do have some pieces on this club that are tradable. I've seen a rumor that Duffy is flirting around with the Padres. I mean, Carlos Santana's got 13 home runs and is doing good. Like, at some point, you have to entertain that idea. So, it's going to be interesting to see how we finish out this month going into the All-Star break. I really think that's where you're going to start to see some stuff start to shake up.
Which, about the All-Star break, everybody vote Salvi in. In my opinion, he's the only Royal that deserves to go. I'm not going to vote Witt in. I'm not going to vote Barlow in. It would be nice to get some Kansas City guys in, but I genuinely believe that they don't deserve it. This team is playing so poorly. It's just like Perez is the only dude that I can willingly vote for and be like, you know what, he can go. I think that he'll probably start the game, but yeah, I don't even know what to start with because it just seems like this team is bad at everything right now. They can't hit. I mean, it's funny we're talking about this. I think they're up 5-2, like you said, against the Red Sox, which I think they might be the best team in the AL right now. They just swept the Yankees. It's just like this inconsistency. It's like you're going to turn around and get swept by the Rangers, who I think have the second pick in this year's draft, and you're going to be up on the best team in the AL. It's just like, where is this coming from? And it almost seems like this team just kind of needs to hit the reset button from a perspective of, we need to get some new coaches. We need to get some new players up here. I do think that if you're going to be as bad as this team is right now, you might as well start Lynch and you might as well start Coar. But I think that you could also make the argument that Cal Eldred did not help these guys when they were up there, which kind of stunted their growth a little bit. So, it's really a problem with the front office, in my opinion, at least at this point, because you spent a lot more money this offseason than you have in years prior. And it almost seems like this team is playing just about equal to or even worse than what we've seen in years prior.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't even
I agree
know.
with that, man. I think, I think some things are going to have to definitely be evaluated. I think, I went back and looked today because you and I have talked numerous times about Hunter Dozier, and I went back and looked, and he signed a 4-year deal for $25 million. For some crazy reason, man, I was thinking in my mind that he signed for like $60 million. I was about to lose it, but 4 for 25, I think you can manage. You can get through. I was looking at it, broke down each year, and really, it doesn't do a whole lot of damage. But what that does is that leads me to exactly kind of what you were saying. So I was looking where the Royals fall from a payroll perspective, and I believe we were 23rd or 25th out of 30 teams. And I think at some point, if you're wanting to compete, you have to start to spend money from that perspective. because there's two teams that were at the bottom of the payroll that were showing of any form of success, and that was the Oakland Athletics and that was the Tampa Bay Rays. Everyone
Mhm.
else is literally on struggle bus, and you see them at the bottom of every single division. And that just shows you that at some point you have to be able to spend money, a little bit of money, to show some form of success. The average for the league was 130 million, and like I said, we were 23 or 25th, and we were only at 95 million. So I think that is something that also needs to be evaluated going into the next season, because at some point I think you need to mix in good quality, pay some people to come to Kansas City to really make this a competitive ball club. That's where you start to sprinkle in those rookies with some very good veterans. I mean, they somewhat tried to do that this year. They just didn't do quality. I mean, Michael Taylor, I said from the very beginning of the year, he's going to be a 250, 260 hitter.
A
And that's
bench
what
bat, a good bench bat is kind of
yeah,
what his ceiling was. I mean,
yeah,
and you mentioned it. I think that the problem is, and kind of crossing over sports, the Knicks for a long time got the stars. They paid the guys. I mean, James Dolan, for as bad as he is, he paid players. I mean, that's one thing you can't really knock him for, but he paid the wrong players. And
yeah,
that's kind of what I don't want to see happen to this Royals team. You can go out and throw money at guys,
yeah.
but it would kind of be like if we signed Jorge Soler to an extension, or we just signed Hunter Dozier. It's like, you're not giving the right money to the right people. I'd say the only contracts recently that I've been happy with was the Perez extension. That was a good move because he's the best catcher in the AL right now.
Yeah.
And I think that the Witt 16 for 4, that was a good deal. And besides that, I can't think of a time where Dayton Moore's like really been just making great contracts. I can't think of any. And I think that's almost like, it's a problem with the front office as much as it's the problem with Dayton Moore. It's just like, you got to pay the right guys. I don't care if you bring in all these flashy names that were good in 2015. They got to be able to play now, and they've got to be able to produce on this team. And that's really all I care about. But, you mentioned something about the division. This team was around the second or third spot in the division for a long time now. We're now fourth in the division. We're now fourth in the division. The Twins, in which we were laughing at them literally a couple weeks ago, we have a worse record than the Tigers and the Twins. And this has all happened in the course of like 2 weeks. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Man, I sent out a tweet the other night. Actually, it was last night, and I literally said tank for Robert Moore. I mean, are we at that point? So yeah, man, I think that's frustrating. I think I think you can see some positives within the division, and I don't mean that just because the Royals are terrible. I mean, going into the season, a lot of people had the Twins picked to win the division rightfully because of how good that team was. They've definitely come across a ton of injuries. I think once that team really does come back, at least somewhat healthy, I think that you'll start to see them rise. The Tigers obviously have their moments. I mean, they're doing some things too. They have some very young pitching, but I think, man, what we're seeing where you're not seeing it with the Royals is the veterans that are sprinkled within those teams still have a way to educate and teach the younger players coming up. They have a way of connecting to them. I don't think that Miguel Cabrera, if he's talking to somebody, you're going to listen to him because he's obviously a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
On this team that we have right here, is there anybody outside of Whit Merrifield and Carlos Santana that anyone's going to listen to for anything? Like, if I go to Jorge Soler and ask for hitting advice, I'm going to get laughed at. If I go to Hunter Dozier and ask for hitting advice, people, it's a laughing thing. So there's not those types of veterans on this team that you can relate to outside of Whit and really, in my opinion, Carlos Santana.
Maybe throw Perez in there too, but even then, like
Perez, yeah, for sure. For sure, most definitely Perez. But like from a pitching perspective, I mean, Duffy, maybe Mike Minor, but you have all these young kids coming up that probably are looking to to look for some advice. Hey, man, what do you recommend? And I just don't think they have that guy except for maybe Duffy. Mike Minor, I mean, he's had some success. I think he's going to be a decent trade piece come the trade deadline. But yeah, outside of that, man, I just don't think they have that guy to go to, and I think that's where you see a big difference. I mean, if you look at the Twins, they got Donaldson. I mean, there's guys there, so you know what I'm saying?
it's hard to take advice from someone that isn't better than you. And I feel like a lot of the guys in the minor leagues, like the Coars and the Lynches, they're pretty much at the Duffy level and they could get even higher. So it's just like, you're going to ask Brad Keller for advice, the guy with a ERA over like 5.5. I mean, it's just like, you don't have anybody that leads by example and that is performing well enough to the point where it's just like your advice is actually worth taking. That's the problem. This team is taking advice from the wrong people. I don't think that Cal Eldred should be even allowed to talk to these pitchers, let alone give them advice. I mean, I just think that it's something that is going to be corrected eventually, but I don't think it's this year. And I think that you're going to have to make some moves in the front office and you're going to have to make some coaching changes till anything substantially changes.
For sure, man. I do have one question for you, Michael. Let me ask you this in all honesty. So let's say that we're at the point where we'll say we're going into the year and Hunter Dozier is half of what he's doing. Jorge Soler is half of what he's doing. You have a healthy Alberto Mondesi. Maybe you kind of have a little bit better pitching. Going into this stage, I like to play devil's advocate because I think we do have those issues. So do you think if every scenario I gave you right there, where do you think we currently are at this moment?
I think if everything I think that if they played to the level of which they are capable of playing at, they'd be like a 500 team or a couple games over that. I mean, if you have Jorge Soler, who was hitting 50 dingers just a couple of years ago, if he's hitting 25, I mean, he's only got 6 this year. I mean, if he's hitting half of what he hit in that monster year, I mean, he's a guy that can go in the cleanup spot and he can club 100 RBIs, get like clutch hits when we need him, big doubles guy, and he can constantly be a home run threat. He's not been that. And Hunter Dozier to me has always been a guy that's just been kind of teetering. Like I kind of liked him, but I also thought that like, hey, I don't know if he's really worth all the hype. And I personally wouldn't have given him the contract extension with all the guys that we have in the minors.
Yeah.
Mondesi, if that dude was healthy, I mean, he's probably got more home runs than most of the guys on the team, and he's played probably a fraction of the games.
10
it's just
games.
Like if he can just stay healthy, he would be such a big threat. So I feel like if everything was in a perfect situation and the pitching was average, I mean, if the pitching was average and the hitting was slightly above average, this is a team that could easily be an above 500 team. But I think that right now they'll probably snap out of it. Even though I at this point I wouldn't even really mind if they tank, just because I feel like they're not going to get the wild card, they're not going to get the division. The mentality of win every game, it's not really working. So I could see them if they did decide to lose a couple more games here and there, to kind of make it look like they're tanking. I wouldn't necessarily mind that, but honestly, I think that this team is probably going to finish somewhere around 20 games below 500 or something like that, just because I do think that they're going to snap out of it eventually. And I think that we were talking about this in a previous live stream. I think the schedule gets easier when you're getting to the August and the September months. So hopefully it gets better because, I mean, we just want to see good baseball. We haven't seen that since, I want to say, the beginning of the season. So whatever gets the team back on track, I'm all for it, but I don't know what that is. I mean, do you have any clue on what that would be?
I mean, I think you could start to see some sparks. I don't know if necessarily the team will return. I want to kind of remain optimistic. I want to say we could potentially finish 500. I still want to hold out just until July. But after seeing that Rangers series, man, it's tough. It's tough to want to hold on, but I do. And then, I definitely, it's a very tough situation when you have Jorge Soler again going out there and isn't willing to make an adjustment. I didn't see his first. He actually got a base hit hitting out of the 2-hole tonight. I didn't get to see it. I was trying to figure out what was going on. But, Santana comes up, hits a 3-run shot. When Merrifield hits a dinger. I mean, you got guys that are actually, it looks like they're starting to play. So I just want to hold out, and I think I want to keep the faith that we'll finish 500, but we're just going to have to see, man.
I hope so, because this team, as long as they can find a way to get better every year, I would be happy with that. And at the beginning of the year, I was like, oh, this team is playing fantastic. I mean, at one time, this team had the best record in baseball. I mean, or the best winning percentage or something like that. It was absurd. And they fell off in about a month and a half. But I guess that's just baseball for you. But I just feel like this team over the past couple years, we haven't really seen improvement. I mean, this offseason, they signed guys like Santana, Taylor, Mike Minor, which that's a classic Dayton Moore signing to go out and get a player that's not really been in his prime in a while. But, you know, I just want to see some improvement and just see them taking at least the right baby steps to getting in the right direction. Because, you know, it's the baby steps that end up being the big steps later on down the line when those prospects come up. And who knows, maybe the one decision that you forgot to make or you didn't make, or the one decision that you did make changes the outcome of a game or two, and those games add up, and that's how you get into the playoffs. So hopefully this team can get back on track. I think that they will, but we'll have to see. So you want to give your week predictions for this next week? I think we have a 3-game series against the Sox, and I'll check who we play next.
While you're doing that, remember, we got the draft coming up, and more and more projections have Kumar Rocker coming to the Kansas City Royals. It'll be exciting. I know Jack Leiter's on the bump tonight facing Mississippi State in the College World Series. So, yeah, it's going to be exciting, but I'm looking forward to this draft. You know, that's at least a shining point of the Kansas City Royals. At least you get to see a new player and something new and come to the Kansas City Royals. So I am looking forward to that for sure.
Just got to load up for the future, man. We know it's not this year. We know it's probably not next year. But if you can get the guys like Kumar, and honestly, I want to kind of eat my words. This team could draft a bat. You know, we can get bats in free agency. You could draft a bat because the bats that we've gotten in free agency, I know we haven't really gotten the cream of the crop guys, but they have not been very good. I mean, Santana's been all right, but, you know, he's kind of getting towards the end. And I think that if you drafted a premier college bat, if there even is one that I can think of, maybe Henry Davis or something like that. But there's a couple guys in the draft class that I wouldn't mind taking over a pitcher.
Yeah, I think there's a few. You know, Henry Davis is starting to fly back up the charts just because of how well he projects just as a catcher. But a lot of what we're seeing right now is those shortstops. There's like 4 or 5 of them that, you know, I mean, it's very similar to how the NFL goes, man. You have months and months out, and you see so many things shake up and so many situations that cause players to go up and down. And, you know, Kumar Rocker fell to 7 because his velocity was 93, and now he's been dealing in every elite situation possible. So does he end up jumping back up? And so honestly, man, it's just going to come down to draft day and who ends up falling to the Royals, and then are we able to pay for them? Because, you know, it's crazy how the draft works. You got to be able to pay them, and if they ask more, you got to adjust to that. So, yeah, it's just going to be exciting. I'm just pumped to see who we take, just because I do think there's a decent amount of players in this draft.
I don't want to see this team go under slot. I don't want to hear any excuses. Oh, we can't pay this. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Yeah. It's a new owner. You can pay the dude. And, you know, that's honestly, there's a couple rumors that the reason we drafted Bubba Starling and the reason that we drafted Hunter Dozier was because they were under slot value. We saw how that turned out. I mean, Christian Colon under slot value. I mean, it's just like, come on, you got to kind of pony up and get the guy that can change the franchise forever. I mean, hopefully we get out of those previous Royals ways. But with that being said, so we have 4 games against the Red Sox, probably the toughest team in the AL to beat right now. And we got a 3-game series against the Twins. I'm going to say we're going to go 2-5. I think that we might steal a game from the Sox. I think that we might win tonight. And I think that they're going to probably take that series. And I think the Twins are going to probably take that series too. But hopefully I'm wrong. I'd love to be wrong. Obviously, I want this team to win. But right now, I'm not too thrilled with what we've been seeing.
You said 7 games?
Yeah.
I'm going 4-3.
Okay. That's why I have you on. The optimism is something that we all need here.
Yeah, I'm for real. I'm going 4-3. Can you I gotta look, but is the Twin series at home or is it on the road?
I will check. It is at home.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go 4-3 for sure. I think we, because of 4 games against the Red Sox, I think we can split. And yeah, I definitely think that we can come home. I think people will be behind them, and we probably take that series against the Twins. I'm gonna go 4-3.
All right, I got you. So, with that being said, guys, that is all about I can talk about tonight. I really don't want to talk about this team anymore. We're probably going to go end up watching the game. But Lucas, where can the people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at the Beat of KC. I try to stay active on Twitter as much as I possibly can. You guys can find me at YouTube, the Beat of KC. My logo is on there. It's me with a beard. So yeah, those are the two prime spots. I do have an Instagram, but mostly Twitter and YouTube. So
gotcha. Well, you can follow the show on Twitter. That's at KC Sports Report. We're trying to build that Twitter up. I neglected it for a long time, but I'm kind of starting to fall in love with Twitter just to see people's reactions and the live threads and stuff like that. So you can follow the show on Twitter at KC Sports Report, on Instagram, KC_Sports Report. Obviously, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I do apologize for the lack of Chiefs content recently. I'm trying to kind of relax here. I'm going out of town this week, so this Royals live stream might happen next week, but we'll have to kind of see. But I will be going to training camp. I found out some information that you have to like book it in advance or get your tickets or whatever. But I should be going out there a lot, so hopefully I'll see some of you guys there. Maybe we'll do a collab out there.
sweet, man. I look forward to it. Yeah, you'll have to definitely let me know what you got to do.
Gotcha.
Because yeah, I would love to do a collab out there for sure.
With all the COVID restrictions, they want you to make sure that you're all signed up, and I think that if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask, but I guess we'll find out. So anyway, guys, with that being said, have a great rest of your Monday night, and go Royals.